So welcome to the first in a series of videos designed to orient you to the new Rescore database application. So this is a web application that's designed to replace the current Access database that you've been using. So to get to the application, you would open up your internet browser and you go to the web address that I will assign to you. And now I limit the access to the people who actually have access to this website by limiting it based on your IP address. And I've also set up some secure socket layers that ensure that the data you send back and forth to this application are encrypted. So try to put in as many safety measures as possible. So when you get to the login screen, you'll log in with your username and your password. It'll give you a loading indicator. And once the page loads, you'll see the main interface. So up top, there's the name of the application. On the top right, there'll be possibly a help section, an about section, and a logout button. And clicking this logout button would obviously log you out of the application and bring you back to the login screen. And underneath the title of the application, we have 4 tabs. There's a patient info tab where you'd spend about 99% of your time. This is where you're going to manage all the information about the patient and their studies. So this is where you'd manage their demographic information. You'd be able to add new patients, add their basic information, add addresses. And once you do that, you'd be able to screen them for studies. And you'll also be able to assign them to studies where it would create sub-IDs. And you'd be able to track their study-specific information, their transportation, their honoraria. Now next to the patient info tab, there's a My Studies tab. Now this is really the only tab that students are going to see when they log in. And underneath that tab, it's going to show them the studies that they're involved in and that they manage. And it's only going to show them information about the patients who belong to those studies. So this is going to limit the access to the data that the students can see. So they'll only be able to see the patients that belong to the studies to which the students are managing. There's a Reports tab. And in this tab, we'll have different sections for reports based on the data that you need. So right now I have an unpaid transportation report area, unpaid honoraria, and there will be several others as well. So you can run these at any point, and you can download the data into an Excel spreadsheet if you want to, or you can simply view it in the results grid here. So these reports will always exist and they'll be at your disposal. And I can create as many reports as you want based on any data that's in the database. And then lastly, there's a Reference Table tab. Now this is going to contain back-end data from the database that's going to drive a lot of the information. So there might be things like doctor information that you might want to add so that they can appear in different drop-down menus. So any of those types of data would appear in this Reference Tables tab, which I'll explain later. So going back to the Patient Info tab, we have this Demographic Info area. So in this panel, which is about the left half of the screen, at the very top there's a search field or search area, which is all contained in yellow. This contains several search fields that you'll use to be able to look up subjects that belong, that are in the database. So for example, we've got the first name, last name, study, gender, ref ID, and sub ID fields. Now we can use any one or any combination of these fields to find individuals that belong in the database. So for example, let's look up somebody with the last name Rower. Now if we enter Rower in the last name field and click search, we're going to see in our results grid all the individuals with the last name of Rower. Now we see we have 2 people, Ben and Julie, obviously who are a male and female. Now if we were to reset our search, which would simply clear all the fields that we've entered in here and clear our results grid, it would allow us to start over. And maybe we want to just search for Rower, who happens to be a male. So we click our gender drop down, select male, and click search. And now in our results grid, you can see that we just have that one entry. We have Ben Rower, who happens to be a male. Now you can see that the last name is the first column that appears, and the first name, and the data kind of shows up in a weird order. So I can rearrange this programmatically, but if at any point you feel like you want to rearrange the data to make it more readable, you can just drag these column headers over and rearrange the data in your search to make it a little more easier to view. Now you can stretch the fields to increase the size or decrease the size, and you can click on the column headers in order to sort them ascendingly or descendingly. So this would be a good way of trying to be able to manage the data from your search results. And again, if you go back to clicking the Reset Search button, this is going to clear out all your search fields, and it's going to clear out the grid, and simply allow you to start over again with a new search. So this is the end of the first video. In the second video, I'm going to show you how to add patient information, and update their data, and continue to search for it so you can screen them and add them to studies.